Welcome to the Learning Summit podcast, where we explore the future of learning, training and development. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into an essential topic for businesses worldwide, compliance training. What is it? Why does it matter? And how can organisations make it more effective? Joining me is Sean Gilligan, founder of Webanywhere, an expert in digital learning solutions. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alex. Great to be here. Compliance training is one of those things that every organisation has to deal with, but it often gets a bad reputation, boring, tick box exercises, right? But when done well, it can actually drive culture, reduce risk, and make workplaces safer and more ethical.
Absolutely. And today we're going to unpack exactly that. How organisations can rethink compliance training to make it engaging, impactful, and, dare I say, even enjoyable.
Did you know that companies paid over $2.5 billion in compliance violation fines last year alone? That's more than the GDP of some small countries, and most of it could have been prevented with proper training.
That number is staggering. And you know what's even more shocking? Most of those violations weren't from companies trying to break the rules. They just didn't know them well enough.
Exactly right. The whole landscape of compliance training has transformed dramatically in recent years. We've moved from those mind-numbing conference room sessions to sophisticated digital platforms that can actually predict potential violations before they happen.
Well, that's fascinating. How exactly does that predictive capability work?
So imagine you're running a large financial institution. These new systems can spot patterns, like if employees in a particular region consistently struggle with anti-money laundering modules. That's a red flag for potential future violations.
That's like having a crystal ball for compliance risks. Though I have to wonder about the human element in all of this.
You know, that's such an important point, because while the technology is impressive, it's really about changing behaviour and building a culture of compliance. Studies show that companies with strong compliance cultures have 65% fewer incidents.
And I'm guessing those cultures aren't built just by making people watch training videos.
Not at all. The most successful programs are using what they call adaptive learning, training that adjusts based on each person's role, learning style, and previous knowledge. Some companies have even gamified their entire compliance programs.
Oh, like turning it into a competition between departments. That's actually pretty clever.
Exactly. And here's what's really interesting. Companies using these gamified approaches are seeing completion rates jump from around 65% to over 90%. But it's not just about completion. Comprehension scores are up by nearly 40%.
Those numbers are impressive, though I imagine implementing these systems must be a massive undertaking.
Well, that's where the ROI comes in. Consider this. The average cost of a compliance violation is around $4 million, but implementing a modern training system typically costs less than $100,000 annually.
So it's basically an insurance policy that pays for itself many times over.
And speaking of insurance, let's talk about how these systems handle certification tracking. In regulated industries, expired certifications can lead to immediate shutdowns, costing upwards of $50,000 per day.
That's a pretty expensive mistake to make. How do these new platforms prevent that from happening?
They use what's called predictive certification management, automatically tracking expiration dates, sending escalating reminders, and maintaining detailed audit trails. Some systems even integrate with HR to prevent scheduling uncertified workers.
The technology behind all this must be incredible. What's next? Virtual reality compliance training.
Actually, yes. Several companies are already piloting VR safety training programs. Early results show retention rates nearly double compared to traditional methods. Imagine practicing emergency procedures in a virtual environment instead of just reading about them.
That could revolutionise how we approach high-stakes compliance scenarios.
And here's something even more exciting: augmented reality systems that can identify potential safety violations in real time. Some construction companies are already testing smart helmets that can spot OSHA violations before they become incidents.
The prevention aspect of all this is really remarkable. It's like we're moving from reactive to proactive compliance.
Absolutely right. And the data backs this up. Companies using these predictive systems are seeing a 70% reduction in compliance-related incidents. That's not just saving money, it's potentially saving lives.
You know, when we started this conversation, I never would have thought compliance training could be this fascinating.
Well, that's because it's not really about training anymore. It's about creating safer, more ethical workplaces through technology and human behaviour. And as we've seen, the stakes couldn't be higher.
Looking ahead, what should organisations be watching for in this space?
The big trends to watch are definitely AI-powered personalisation, increased use of virtual and augmented reality, and more integration with other business systems. But perhaps most importantly, we're seeing a shift toward measuring actual behaviour change rather than just completion rates.
That really brings it full circle. From those old 3-ring binders to predicting and preventing problems before they happen. And that's really the key takeaway here. Compliance training isn't just about checking boxes anymore. It's about using technology to create real cultural change and protect both people and organisations. Thanks everyone for joining us for this deep dive into the future of compliance training. Sean, this has been a fantastic discussion on compliance training. It's clear that organisations need to move beyond dull slide decks and think about engagement, interactivity, and real-world application.
And that's right, whether it's using microlearning, scenario-based training, or even AI-driven coaching, compliance training can be a strategic advantage rather than just a regulatory requirement.
Well, if you're interested in transforming the way your organisation approaches compliance training, be sure to check out Webanywhere. You can find more insights and resources at webanywhere.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the Learning Summit podcast for more expert conversations on the future of learning and development.